In a forgotten village tucked between dry hills and fading memories, lived a boy named Armaan, a quiet soul with eyes that carried more stories than his lips ever spoke. People often looked at him and wondered why he walked alone, why he stared so long at sunsets, and why his heart seemed older than his age. They didn't know that Armaan carried a storm inside, a storm born the day he watched his father walk away in anger and never return. His mother, fragile yet unbelievably strong, raised him with hands that trembled at night but never showed weakness in the day. Armaan grew up believing that strength didn't mean shouting or fighting. Sometimes it meant simply surviving, hour by hour, breath by breath. Every morning he worked in the fields, helping his mother, while every night he sat under the old neem tree, whispering his fears to the wind because he had no one else who would listen. The villagers said he would never achieve anything, that he was too soft, too silent, too broken, but they didn't see the fire rising quietly inside him, the same fire that begins in a heart that has tasted pain but refuses to remain defeated. One day, while Armaan carried sacks of wheat to the market, he saw a little girl crying by the roadside. Without hesitation, he sat next to her, wiped her tears, and learned that she had lost her parents in an accident and had been wandering ever since. Suddenly, in her helpless eyes, Armaan saw a reflection of his younger self. And in that moment, something inside him changed, not loudly, not dramatically, but deeply, in a way that shifts a person's destiny. He took her home despite the gossiping villagers who whispered that he couldn't even take care of himself. His mother looked at him long and long, then smiled softly, as if she already knew he was meant for something greater. Together, they cared for the girl they named Zoya, planting hope in the soil where sadness once grew. Armaan worked harder than ever, taking extra jobs, fixing old roofs, carrying loads twice his size, rising and falling and rising again. Slowly, the villagers' voices quieted as they watched him transform, no longer the silent boy, but a man driven by purpose. Still, darkness returned in the form of drought. Crops failed, wells dried, and hunger crawled into every home. But Armaan refused to bow. He convinced the villagers to dig a community well, working day and night even when his body begged him to stop. Some mocked him, some doubted him, but he kept digging, fueled by the memory of every tear he had wiped, every fear he had survived. Weeks passed. Hands bled. Bodies collapsed. But on one scorching afternoon, Armaan's shovel hit something hard. A moment later, water burst forth like a miracle, soaking the dry earth and rising into the air like a promise of life itself. The villagers cried, laughed, and embraced Armaan, realizing that the boy they once ignored had become the heartbeat of the village. News spread. Opportunities came. Armaan built a small school where children like Zoya could dream freely without fear of fate stealing their future. Zoya, now older, smiled proudly at him every day, knowing that the men who saved her had become a hero not just for her, but for an entire community. And yet Armaan remained humble, standing under the same neem tree, looking at the same sunset, whispering the same silent promises, but this time, he whispered them with hope rather than pain. He learned that greatness is not in power, fame, or the loudness of one's voice. It is in the quiet courage to rebuild yourself, piece by piece, until you become the person you needed when you were broken. And dear viewers watching this video right now, if Armaan's journey touched your heart, if his story reminded you that no matter how dark your nights have been, dawn will come, then I invite you to support this mission of spreading powerful, inspiring stories. Your one click can help this channel grow, reach more hearts, and keep these emotional journeys alive. So before we move to the next story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because your support is the light that keeps stories like this shining in the world.